Hey everybody, wanted to do a video for a while, and maybe I had just a little too big of a picture in mind, but what I wanted to do a video about is how these two have started to become best friends. And I was going to do a long video or like a medium length video, just kind of showing like all the different things that they complement each other with. But instead I decided maybe I'll do a series. So today I just want to show you one thing that I think these things are best friends for. And they complement each other because this has strengths, this has weaknesses, this has a lot of strengths, this has a lot of weaknesses. But anywho, you get the idea. So the thing that I really love about the 1010 is the auto chopping, or the fact that, and give away my sample there, the slicer. The slicer by transients. Man, if the Octatrack had slicing by transients, if they ever come out with that update, man, I'll do a backflip. But in the interim, here's where the Blackbox comes in. So let me just show you a simple setup, and I also want to kind of just show you my workflow for inspiration. So what I like to do a lot is find a song that has a lot of sounds that I like little, I don't even know how to describe it. Maybe just like the textures of the sounds. I can hear little stabs in there. I don't want to sample a phrase, actually, because one, I want it to be not recognizable so that there's no copyrights. I want to be able to have something that's so original. It sounds like I sampled something, but you'd never be able to know where it came from. And that's by getting these little almost micro samples, not like a granular way, but these little samples, and then rearranging them and creating your own riffs out of them. So I'll show you that little workflow, and I'll show you a basic setup. So one thing, just for context, I got a little house loop that we're gonna like jam over, but the stuff happens over here on the MIDI page, and tracks 1 through 4 I use for my hardware. So in my template, I have tracks 5, 6, 7, and 8 assigned to channels 5, 6, 7, and 8. You can see that. And then same thing over here. I have a template for my Blackbox for working on the Octatrack. And if you go in, you can see that, 5 is automatically assigned to that one, and so on. I'm going to give away my sample again there. Channel 6 and so on. So 5, 6, 7, 8 are assigned to 5, 6, 7, and 8. So I can just trigger them from the sequencer on the Octatrack. So what I like to do is I've already recorded in just 4 like chunks. Usually I record, anywhere from 3 to, man, this thing can actually sample for a long time. I've even tried to chop a whole song on it, and it does struggle a little bit, but it actually does do it, surprisingly. But let's just start off with the first one here. I'm going to go into the slicer, and we'll go to scan, and 25 that's the default, seems to work pretty good. All right, now if we go over to number 5 and we go down to chromatic, now I should be able to hear my chops. And then I can use the function and go over here. And if we look, let's see how many samples we actually got out of there. The one thing I do like about triggering them on the Blackbox, especially when I'm just working on it, is I could create a phrase really easily by, using chop 30 and chop 2. But since you only can address 16 at a time with the pages, you really have to think about the way you're programming that. And it comes up, depending on how you're working, you'll come up with different ideas, whether you're working with different machines and the limitations. That's what's fun about it. So just to recap, I'll show you real quick on all 4 of these. We'll go over to the next one, hit info, go to the slicer, scan, 25%, boom. Now if I go to channel 6, you can see I'm triggering the last one there. So look on our keyboard, we're at number 5, octave 5, octave 4, octave 3. So right down at C2 is the first one on the chop. So there's some of my little 80s flair. Just for repetition, we'll do it one more time. Slicer, scan, 25%, go. You can hear my little 80s vibe I'm going with today. Slicer, scan, 85. and now that one will be on. So we'll skip ahead here. I'll jam out a little bit, and then I'll bring you back in and kind of just show you what I made from playing around with these chops, and then how we can resample them. While I was in the middle of jamming, I wanted to mention something as well. One of the fun things I also like to do with some of these is they default under the menu to mono, so you can only play like one clip at a time. Sometimes I find more than one little chop I want to use kind of on like a different track, and this goes for using the Octatrack or using the Blackbox by itself. So I like to set that to poly 2 or even poly 4. Like there's another section in this first group that I want to use, and then what I do is over here on this MIDI track, I could set this one to 5 as well, and that way I'll have a channel 5 here and a channel 5 here, kind of playing two different parts that are from the same chops on this pad. All right, so I'm going to bring you back in here on what I've been doing. I literally have only been jamming for like 5 minutes. I try to do this like as quick as I can. Suspend judgment. These are what I call sketches. I put them in here, do them as quick as I can, I save them, and then a month later or so, I'll come back and listen to them and kind of pick an idea that really like grabs onto me, you know, to finish. So just show you here what I did. This is the first little chop I grabbed. Then I grabbed this one. So that's kind of like my little bass line. Oh, maybe I didn't even put anything on that one. I didn't even use that pad. I did use 2 on number 5, like I said. Here's all of them together. All right, so as I was editing last night and then afterwards laying in bed, I wanted to show you one more thing that I think is really cool about this setup, and I just thought of this. A lot of us like to use the create random locks when we're slicing on the Octatrack, and I was thinking about how you might be able to do this and with this setup in particular, and I remembered Kenny Zhao's video, which was a great video on creating random locks using LFOs instead of the create random locks within the slice menu. So I thought, well, why can't you do that with this? And of course you can, because you can use the LFO to control the note, which note you're playing. So here's a simple chop that I made this morning, for example. And if we just start playing with the depth, and of course the multiplier, the speed, the wave. You can, no matter which one you play with, you're going to get random as you change. Anyway, I hope that spurred some more ideas on before we wrap up this vid. So anyway, that's the quick workflow of using the Blackbox and the Octatrack together, the auto slicing function, being able to set the filter, of course, the power of the Octatrack sequencer. I'd much rather sequence on this than on this. So, I mean, these things, the more I use them, and I'll just give you a sneak peek of what some of the other videos are. The fact that, you know, you only have 8 tracks on here and you have 16 on here, and, you know, passing things back and forth, using the sequencer to trigger loops on here to free up, you know, starting drums on here, recording them into here, and then triggering with MIDI. I'll go into that in another video, but these are becoming my new favorite pair, and I hope that you got something from this video. If you did, please leave a comment below. If you would be so kind, hit the like and subscribe. And if you really want to show some love, I do have a Patreon. I got 0 Patreons, so if you want to be my first Patreon, hit me up and I will shout out your name on the next video and give you mad props on every subsequent video there is. If you got any questions, also leave a comment below, and we really appreciate your time and hope you learned something today. God bless.